Which of the following steps can help to internationalize the rupee? Tax incentives to foreign businesses to utilize the rupee in operations in India. RBI should pursue a more liquid rupee bond market. Indian exporters and importers should be encouraged to invoice their transactions in rupee. India signing currency swap agreements with other countries. Consider the following statements. Masala bonds are rupee denominated bonds issued in the international market. They are named masala to reflect the Indian culture and cuisine. The interest rates on masala bonds are generally lower compared to domestic bonds issued in India. The primary purpose of issuing masala bonds is to raise foreign capital while avoiding currency risk. Which of the following is true about Article 341 of the Indian Constitution? It provides for the appointment of the President of India. It defines the procedure for the declaration of scheduled castes. It outlines the distribution of power between the Union and the states. It deals with the amendments of the Indian Constitution. Who has the authority to amend the list of scheduled castes under Article 341 of the Indian Constitution? The President alone, the Parliament alone, the President with the consent of the Parliament, the Supreme Court. Under Article 341, what role does the President play in relation with scheduled castes? The President allocates fund for the welfare of scheduled castes. The President specifies the scheduled caste in each state or union territory. The President ensures employment for members of scheduled caste. The President oversees the implementation of welfare schemes for scheduled castes. Which of the following statements is correct regarding the modification of the scheduled caste list under Article 341? The President can modify the list at any time. The list can be modified by the governor of the respective state. The list can only be modified by a law made by Parliament. The list cannot be modified once it is declared. Consider the following statements about hydrofuel cells. Hydrogen fuel cells produce electricity through an electromagnetic reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. The only byproduct of hydrogen fuel cell is water. Hydrogen fuel cells are less efficient than traditional combustion engines. Zunki River is a major river flowing through the state of Arunachal Pradesh in India. The river originates in the Himalayas and flows southward. The Zunki River is a tributary of the Brahmaputra River. National Waterway 1 is the longest national waterway in India. The Inland Waterways Authority of India, IWAI, is responsible for the development and maintenance of national waterways only and not state waterways. The Inland Waterways Authority of India operates under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Consider the following statements about electroencephalogram, EEG. An EEG measures electrical activity in the brain. EEG is commonly used to diagnose epilepsy and other seizure disorders. The electrodes used in EEG are typically placed on the scalp. Steps can help to internationalize the rupee. Tax incentives to foreign businesses to utilize the rupee in operations in India. RBI should pursue a more liquid rupee bond market. Indian exporters and importers should be encouraged to invoice their transactions in rupee. India signing currency swap agreements with other countries. Many reforms can be pursued to internationalize the rupee. It must be made more freely convertible with the goal of full convertibility by 2060, letting financial achievements more freely between India and abroad. This would allow foreign investors to easily buy and sell the rupee, enhancing its liquidity and making it more attractive. Additionally, the RBI should pursue a deeper and more liquid rupee bond market, enabling foreign investors and Indian trade partners to have more investment options in rupee, enabling its international use. Indian exporters and importers should be encouraged to invoice their transactions in rupee, optimizing the trade settlement formalities for rupee import or export transactions would go a long way. Additional currency swap agreements, as with Sri Lanka, would further allow India to settle trade and investment transactions in rupees without resorting to a reserve currency such as the dollar. Additionally, tax incentives to foreign businesses to utilize the rupee in operations in India would also help. The RBI and the Ministry of Finance must ensure currency management stability, consistent and predictable issuance or retrieval of notes and coins, and improve the exchange rate regime. Masala bonds are indeed rupee-denominated bonds issued in the international market, allowing Indian entities to raise funds from foreign investors in Indian rupees. The term masala is used to reflect Indian culture and cuisine, aiming to make these bonds more appealing and identifiable as Indian financial instruments. The interest rates on masala bonds are not necessarily lower compared to domestic bonds. The interest rates depend on various factors, including market conditions, credit ratings, and investor perceptions. The primary purpose of issuing masala bonds is to raise foreign capital while avoiding the risk of currency depreciation, since the repayment is made in Indian rupees. Which of the following statement is Article 341 of the Indian Constitution defines the procedure for the declaration of scheduled caste. The Supreme Court ruled that states cannot modify the scheduled caste list published under Article 341 of the Constitution. The court squashed a Bihar government notification from 2015 that classified the Tanti Tantwa community as scheduled caste, reverting them back to the category of extremely backward class. The court called the notification malified and emphasized that only Parliament has the authority to amend the scheduled caste list through legislation, not state governments. Article 341 of the Indian Constitution specifically deals with the identification and the declaration of scheduled castes in India. It empowers the President to specify the caste, race or tribes which shall be deemed to be scheduled caste in a particular state or union territory. The Parliament alone has the authority to amend the list of scheduled castes under Article 341 of the Indian Constitution. Article 341 of the Indian Constitution empowers the President to specify castes, race or tribes as scheduled castes for various states and union territories. This designation is made after consulting with the governor of the concerned state. The list of scheduled castes is intended to provide special privileges and benefits to these communities to promote their social and educational advancement. Parliament holds the authority to amend this list by including or excluding groups through legislation, ensuring the criteria for inclusion are clearly defined and adhered to. Under Article 341, the President specifies the scheduled castes in each state or union territory. According to Article 341, the President has the authority to specify the caste, race or tribes which shall be deemed to be scheduled caste in a particular state or union territory. This specification is done through a public notification. Scheduled caste list can only be modified by a law made by Parliament. Once the President specifies the scheduled caste in a particular state or union territory, any further modification to this list can only be done by the Parliament through legislation. This ensures a structured and legal process for any changes to the list. Hydrogen fuel cells produce electricity through an electrochemical reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. This process involves the reaction of hydrogen and oxygen in the fuel cell, creating electricity, water and heat. The only byproduct of a hydrogen fuel cell is water. When hydrogen reacts with oxygen in the fuel cell, it forms water as a byproduct, makes the process environmentally friendly. Hydrogen fuel cells are generally more efficient than traditional combustion engines. While combustion engines typically convert only 25 to 30% of the energy in fuel into useful work, hydrogen fuel cells can convert up to 60% of the energy into electricity. The Zunki River is the biggest tributary flows into Tisu River within Nagaland. Nagaland is Tisu River. Biggest tributary, Zunki River. Zunki River originates from the northeastern part of Chandok forest in the south of the Tegu and flows southwards towards Noklok, Shamator and Kiferi and finally joins Tishu below Kiferi. National Waterway 1, NW1, which stretches from Allahabad to Kaldia, is the longest national waterway in India. The Inland Waterways Authority of India, IWAI, is responsible for the development and maintenance of national waterways. State waterways are managed by the respective state governments. The Inland Waterways Authority of India operates under the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, not the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Electroencephalogram, EEG. An EEG measures the electrical activity of the brain by recording the brain's spontaneous electrical activity over a period of time. EEG is commonly used in the diagnosis of epilepsy and other seizure disorders because it can detect abnormal electrical activity associated with these conditions. The electrodes used in EEG are indeed placed on the slab to record the electrical activity of the brain.